Today we are with Jennifer, and Jennifer is the founder of Connect Mio, right? Which is an app for people designed to help them support their families and support their loved ones through alcoholism and issues like that, right?
Correct. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So we already had a chat some time ago, and we were fascinated by you and your story. Um, I'd like to ask you, like, what got you there to share your story? Because I think this is something that a lot of people will resonate with, and it can help them. And then, once we establish that, please explain about the app and what it does exactly in more detail.
Yeah, of course. I was married to my husband for just over 4 years, but I had known him for 30 plus. Um, he was an alcoholic, and passed away uh, in the last year from alcoholism. I think my story kind of begins with you feel isolated. It's Our story is one where he was a very smart man, and that alcoholism isn't just, it doesn't confine itself to one kind of person or another. And so our world became very small as the benders started happening more and more frequently. Um, what ended up happening was, he got so ill that I was the primary caregiver, and there wasn't really anyone else to show up to help. Like, his family and friends kind of all faded away because they just didn't know how to help. They couldn't understand, like, he had to be the one who wanted to change. But at the end of the day, I was the one who was still there. So I was really searching for a community where people understood it, they got it, they could, show up and support me when I needed it. And I think that was one of the things that I really learned going through this process with him, was that when someone reaches out for help with the alcoholic, they're actually looking for help for themselves. Maybe they need a break, like the caregiver needs a break, they need to step away, or they need resources. Um, And when we reach out for help, people assume that we're asking for help with the alcoholic. And so Connect Mio came about kind of randomly, to be honest. I had this idea while he was still alive. And it came about because I was going to be out of town for work, for my work. And I have three teenagers, and they were all going to be out of town also, which never, ever happens. But I didn't have anyone to watch the dog. Um, and I could tell he was going on, like, starting another bender. And I didn't have anyone to, like, reach out to. I didn't have a community of people who knew and understood what was actually happening and who would feel comfortable coming in and just checking on the dog. And so that's where it kind of sparked this, like, how many other people are dealing with living with an alcoholic who feel isolated, who feel like they can't reach out, feel like like it's some sort of like secret that we have to keep, like it's not our story to share. And it really got me thinking, well, if I need this resource, how many other people need resources to financial planners, attorneys, estate planners, things that maybe they don't have access to, but need access to either get out of the situation they're in, or an awful situation, or, those kind of things. And so, yeah, Connect Mia. After he passed, I really felt this calling to just find a space where we could bring families together, ask questions, support each other, but also provide those necessary resources that so many people, A, they don't have probably the money to go and get themselves. And B, they don't have the time because when you're living with an alcoholic and you are their primary caregiver, there's very little time for anything else because your brain is just so worried and focused on where's the next drink coming from? How do I, get out of this situation? Or how do I just get through the day to day living in survival mode?
So
Yeah.
just listening to you, it, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but like my blood's like boiling a little bit. It's like it's such a ridiculous, crazy situation where, um, you know, I'm sure that you can have compassion for the person that is an alcoholic. And of course, their life is hell. They're struggling,
Mhm.
but they are creating that. If they're not terrorizing purposely, if they're not like crazy narcissistic or they have some sort of personality disorder, they are still destroying the lives and destroying everything around them and everybody around them, right? And and that's not what you usually think about when you think about the alcoholic trope, like the story. You don't think about their spouse. You it it's kind of like they grab all the attention, right? I don't know. That's and the
Yeah.
fact the fact that you don't have somebody reliable to take care of the dog because you know that he won't, he can't. And to think of you alone in a situation like this, it's not okay. It's just not.
Yeah, and the more I kept telling my story, the more friends that I had no idea would message me privately and just reach out and be like, "My was going through this," or "My this person is going through this," or "I've gone through this," or and it affects more of us than we know. I mean, I like to use the rule of thumb that, like, for every one alcoholic, there's at least five people affected by that person that we're not really helping. Um, my husband went to rehab and detox 4 times. And every single time I dropped him off, it was at, a different location. They don't disclose where they're taking them. So family members don't show up at those places, which a lot of people probably didn't know that. Um, but they literally just say, thanks, and that's it. And then we're left with that. Well, they're getting, 24-hour help and care and they're getting through it. What do we get? Right. And so this app really brings together this space of like, okay, you guys have been holding it together for this person. Let's bring a community and bring therapists and counselors and, mindset coaches and, I have a teacher who's on it who she makes coloring pages for kids for parents to download so they can help them understand what's going on in their household. So the app really is everything from like PDFs to help, coloring pages to help your kids understand what's happening in their house to, getting help or finding, a 1 hour counseling appointment with an estate attorney. Because at the end of the day, I really just want to empower the families with the tools to help them build what's next. Because there's always going to be a what's next. Because whether the alcoholic gets through and they go into sobriety, there's a what's next for them as well because their life changes. If alcohol was part of their life before and now it's not, or if your loved one passes away, what's next? What does that look like on the other side? And so the app really is there to help everyone find their own journey.
That's wonderful. And it's just, I think, insane that you're like the first one to do something like this because it's just so obvious. Like everything you say, everything that comes out of your mouth is like on point. It's like you're dropping them off to get rehab and thanks, bye. And then
Mhm.
you that have to go through so much and have to be the leader of the family instead of him or alone
Or her,
or
yeah, alone, yeah.
alone and you have to shoulder everything, like, and it doesn't compute, like, it does not make sense. I guess maybe kids will get some sort of support from school, maybe counseling, but it's just like, it's it's just irresponsible, it's just wrong. And I'm not like this. It's just, I work with men, and I just um I feel like I'm affected by this, because everything I advocate for is for responsibility of the men that I work with. And and of course, to not do this. And I understand the that, from one side, that an
Hmm.
alcoholic it's no joke, right? My grandfather was an alcoholic. I never met him. My mother separated us. I met him maybe once when I was 8, and she left us with him for a few minutes. She went to the store to get milk, and he somehow found the bottle of alcohol. We didn't have any alcohol. He found it anyway, got drunk. So I so it's like taking care of an out of control child, I guess, that, and it's not rewarding, and they're not grateful, or maybe they say that they're grateful, and after all of this, there's nobody to help you, and you have to create. I'm just blown away by the fact that this is just not better understood. So
Yeah, I think
you
that,
got me, yeah.
yeah, I think that's why I'm just so passionate and so vocal about it. Um, it's just it's a community and it's a space that really needs the support. Um, and I think there's a lot of judgment around, people who stay with the alcoholic.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's why there's so many people who are not very vocal about it, because there is so much judgment about it. And a lot of times I know that my situation is not unique, because there are tons of people going through it. But my husband was an isolator. He wasn't an angry or violent. And so, when he went down on a bender, it was isolation. Like, he would remove himself from the family, from his friends, for days, sometimes weeks. But that's not the case for other people. Some people are in dangerous situations and they don't know how to get out, because they either A, don't have the financial means, or they don't know legally what they can or cannot do. And that's just not okay. Like, it's not okay. There are so many resources out there for the actual alcoholic. Um, but when it comes to the families that are going through it, there's very few.
I mean, like, I'm thinking about from a marketing perspective, how do you even, like, it's not known, right? It's just, um, but yeah, I get that. There's judgment around,
Mhm.
staying with, and it's, from the outside, it's like, for them, it's so easy and so obvious. Like, why don't you leave? Why? I guess a lot of people judge that, but these things are complex. There's, like you said, financial situations, and a lot of fear and uncertainty, and most of all, your own issues. Because if you happen to get into a relationship um, with somebody who has mental health issues, alcoholism, whatever, usually means that, you've also have some journey and some healing to do yourself, and you are alone. It's like, that's the other side of the same coin, right? It's different. So um yeah, I would assume you would probably know way better than me, from yourself and from the people that you've helped. I'm guessing that the vast majority of the people who find themselves in these situations are, um extreme givers. Maybe they have codependency
Mhm.
issues like that, right? And that's not easy to just pack your bags and go. It's not always an option.
No, no, it's not. And there, like I said, there are some resources like Al-Anon is worldwide, but it's not necessarily the right space for everyone because this journey that people are on is different for everyone because everyone has we all have our own like issues and codependencies and um self there's always something we're always working on ourselves. And it's really hard to do that when you are in survival mode. And what happens is you become in survival mode so long that you do forget to take care of yourself because you are taking care of somebody else or you are worrying about, that loved one more than you are focusing on what you're doing. And Al Anon is a great place for putting yourself first, and stepping into that light. After that, there's not much inside of there. I've done Al-Anon, and I had a business, and so I could put myself first. And there were those moments of survival mode where you go into, codependency and you're checking on them, every 10 minutes or whatever it is. But once you get past those moments of, okay, they're fine, you know, I need to be me. It's that moment where you're like, okay, where do I start? Like, you know, where should I even begin? And those are the moments where I really want people to get the resources they need from the app because that's the moment that they start to realize what's next.
Okay. So your story is amazing because you got out of this, and not only you survived it, you're helping other people and you've created so much. That's amazing. Um, what are some things that people who are going through this assume wrongly, meaning they don't quite understand? They might feel the repercussions of, but they don't fully get.
I think there's stages. I think this is a really great question. I think there's stages of my loved one doesn't have a problem. And then there's okay, they have a problem, but it's manageable, or I can help them manage it, which is so not true. Like, you can't make them do anything. You can hide the alcohol, right? But they're gonna find it. Like, it is one of those things where if they want it, they need it. And I think the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is that alcohol is usually the symptom. They're using it to get through something else that they can't, either depression or there's something else going on that typically they want to numb themselves, just like an addict would with drugs, right? They're using it to get through their day because there's something that is going on that they can't fix.
And so even if it is connected to you, like I think a lot of partners in this situation, they would get hurt as if they are not enough, as if they're not doing enough, right? They
Mm,
need to change, but it's just not a matter of you changing, or
mm,
I would assume most of the time anything to do with you. It's just something, some skeleton or deep rooted issue that they don't have the tools to deal with, or they don't want to deal with, or they don't know how.
mhm.
And so to try to fix them and to change somebody else is so exhausting and so draining. and really a waste, maybe.
Yeah, it is. It's a waste of time and energy. And I think working with a mindset coach or being in a space where in a community where people have been through it, are going through it, are maybe reaching out to figure out if they're on this path and what that looks like. The community is such a great space for that because it is a safe space. And a lot of times we do stop doing the things that we love to do because our loved one is taking up so much time and because we feel guilty for not showing up for them, for not helping them through, something. But the realization of that is that, again, we can be there. We can be, I, like we could be supportive at an arm's length. We can be there to be affectionate when they need it. But when things get too much for you, it is okay to step away without guilt, which is super, super hard for those who are, supporting a loved one, um, to just step away and go take care of yourself. Um, like I used to remember I didn't like going to the grocery store. Like there were moments during, when he would go on vendors where I was like, well, if I just make him come to the grocery store with me, that's 3 less drinks that I know he'll take if he was at home and I wasn't there. Like those are the things that go through your mind and you have to like sometimes step away and go, I don't have control of that human being. It's okay for me to go do XYZ.
So what I'm getting is it's basically self-esteem that I think there's many ways to go about getting it, but it's mainly self-esteem that will help somebody that is just giving too much and worrying too much to stop, because what you described as getting up and leaving when the situation isn't good for you, not physically, leaving your partner, but just get out the room
Mhm.
or go into a space or go do something that you like instead of worrying and struggling and trying to change somebody else, which is not very self-loving, right? Because you're trying to help somebody that is just not capable or not interested, right? So it's self-esteem, knowing that your time and your value and your love is worth something, and you ought to give it to somebody who will appreciate it, who can appreciate it. So again, I'm careful with my words. We're not trying to demonize anybody. We're not trying to demonize alcoholics, but of
Mm,
them are just suffering so much and they themselves are in survival mode, and of course they're putting everyone
mhm,
else in survival mode, and
mhm,
somebody in survival mode cannot appreciate your kindness, they cannot appreciate your
mhm,
love. They are busy worrying and struggling and being a victim inside and feeling awful. So you better just give that attention and that time and resources and love to yourself or your kids or the dog or
mhm.
anybody.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And there's features inside of the app that, you find somebody that you can connect with. You can create, a little your own little thread and have like build that connection. It's geolocated. So if you need to find, a rehab center that's close and you want to drop your loved one off, like you can find that inside of there. There's emergency services in there so you can pre-fill who you would want to contact in an emergency. And if, you feel like you're in an unsafe situation, you can hit that button and it will contact the people that you have pre-programmed in there. Um, it really is a resource for the families from literally anything they could possibly want. So yeah, the whole thing is that you have to take care of yourself because there will be a new path And you just have to find the one that's right for you because, again, everybody's path is different on this journey. Um, but there is a what's next. Like, there's always going to be a what's next after this relationship with the alcoholic. Um, and that's what we're really here to help people build.
I have a question. But first, I just want to say that I was quiet until now because I've been very moved by your story. I think it was very traumatic. I can relate with a few things, even though I didn't have anyone alcoholic in my family. It was kind of chaotic. I have actually two questions. The first question was, you look like a very positive person right now. What did it take for you to heal and be like this today after 4 years and living so long with your husband? That was my first question. The second question, is it only for alcoholism or is it for anyone that is addicted to something, sorry?
Yeah, I'll go second first. Right now it is alcoholics. I do see it moving into the addiction space, I would say in the next 2 to 3 years. Um, we know alcoholism, I built that specifically for it. I do see it kind of migrating into, all addictions eventually. Um, and I have done a ton of mindset work, which is why I do think it's super important for that to be part of the app, like working on your outlook and the why and how things happen to you for a reason. Um, and also, I was able to grieve while my husband was still alive. So I think that makes a big difference for me because I did know it was coming. He was very ill. Um, and I was able to pull back during those moments and be there for him when he needed it, but also be the person who could step away, who could go on a trip with her girlfriends if I needed to, or I could have somebody, one of my family members, come in and take over my caregiving duties and not feel like it was all on me. And so I do think that because I had done, so much mindset work on, survival mode, being a mom of 3 teenagers, living their stepdad was an alcoholic. Like, I think I was able to work through a lot of those mind blocks before he passed, which made the transition easier, to be honest. I mean, when I wasn't home when he passed away, and it was kind of a feeling like I could take a deep breath.
So in the app, you're gonna have also like mindset coach and things like this for people. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching this and they have resources for families that would help them through this, we're always accepting providers or service providers inside of the app because if you have something that is going to help someone in this situation, that's the best part of the app. It brings together those two worlds where people may not know that they need a mindset coach, or they may not know they need, a resource for estate planning or a financial planner to help them maybe separate their finances if they want to, leave or divorce or whatever. Yeah, my goal is to bring anyone who can help support families of alcoholics together so that they can choose their path.
Your app sounds amazing, and it's a bit funny you're wearing Meta classes because they fail on all their apps. We're really upset with them, but forget about that for now. Like, your app sounds amazing.
Well, my real job, I won't tell you, my real job is I own an ad agency and I'm inside of Meta all day long.
So you know what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we would. I'm not gonna say it, but okay. Um, yeah.
I know.
Um, you said something really interesting, and I think that specifically for me, I've been working lately with someone who could hear your perspective, because you said that you felt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said you felt relief. And I think a lot of people, they might feel guilty, like that's bad. And I don't think that's bad at all. I think it makes all the sense in the world. But that's probably something people who have lost an abusive alcoholic or an abusive person in their life might struggle with that feeling. So could you say a word or two about, from your perspective, how come it's okay?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work that has to be done on my part. Like if that's where you are, you need to do a lot of work on separating your identity from them. And then once you get to that space, you can start to grieve. You can grieve the loss of your relationship, your friendship, the future, right? Like you can start to grieve all of these things. And then it just becomes this process of watching them suffer and knowing that there's not much you can do, but you can be there when they need you. Um, and then, being okay with the relief or like being able to breathe, because it really does mean now you get to start over. You have a clean slate. Like there's nothing, there's no guilt, there's no shame, right? Like that all just goes away. But I think it starts with separating your identity from them.
So just because, I'm just gonna give my take, and I'm sure that you agree with me, that just because you feel relief doesn't mean that you didn't necessarily love them, or you don't have to love them, but it doesn't
Mm-mm.
mean that, it doesn't make you selfish. It's just that you are now able to experience life in a certain way, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
huge burden prior.
I think a lot of people, if they haven't done that grieving process, that's what happens when someone passes is they haven't grieved the future, right? Because you're grieving for the future that you thought you had, but you don't. So you're grieving for that. You're grieving for them because it's not the life they really wanted. You're grieving for so many things. But if you can start that grieving process, but it really allows you in the moment to just be like, you can breathe and you can be grateful. Um, that I don't want to say that it's over, but really it's over.
So me and Alex, we grieve all the time. I think, Alex, you grieve a lot more than me, even.
I'm grieving right now.
Okay. Well, um, yeah. I don't know what this. I was gonna say thanks, Jennifer, for triggering this, but it's a good thing. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in his
Sorry.
mind, but he's
Don't worry about it. We'll be fine.
no, we're not worried. But as I was saying, like case in point, like we grieve all the time. This is grieving here right now. And well, I was gonna even turn to you, Alex, and ask you to describe like what is grieving in a bit more details, because that's a vague term. What goes through your mind? How do you grieve?
I don't know. I just think about it. I'm processing it slowly until I can let it go, basically. but I don't have really detail. I don't understand it very well. I've been grieving a lot for the past 2-3 years, and I still don't understand it. I still don't understand, and that's okay. I'm just sad, emotional, and I just wait until something come up to process and let go, basically.
Well, I think you said one of the magic words is you're sad. And I think that when something like this, Jennifer, happens, there's a shock when you lose somebody. Sometimes there's shock, not always, but there's a lot of thoughts, and maybe it's the same pattern often of thinking about other people rather than thinking about yourself and what you need and what you feel right now.
Okay, wait. I think I got it. It's basically understanding that you love someone and there is nothing you can do about it, and letting this go, basically. Like accepting this reality.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think I'm a visual person. So for me, like this is one way that it has been explained to me, and I love this. And so I'll share this with you guys. But it feels like sometimes for me, when I was going through a ton of grief, that it felt like it was balloons and they were tied to me. You know, like when you give them to a kid and you have to tie it around their wrist and so it doesn't go fly away. It felt like every little thing that I was grieving was a balloon that was tied to me and I was carrying it. And so I would sit with if one piece of grief was coming up, like maybe it was grieving for the life that, we never had, I would sit with that and just imagine that I was cutting the string around my wrist off and I'm letting that go. And it was one less grief for me. I just accepted it and I moved, like I'm letting that go and then I can move on to the next one. And so I don't know if that's helpful for anyone, but for me, that is one of the reasons. And they all come, like things come back, balloons come back for other reasons or whatever. But just being able to visualize the things that I was grieving, like all the different things, and then having a way to let it go was very helpful.
That's awesome. And I think some other things are maybe you have some questions, like questions that you don't even know that are in your head that you want to know. So that's processing, answering those questions somehow, trying to understand it, take the time as much as you need. It's not being obsessive to
Mm-mm.
ask questions and to want to know. That's just natural. And then another component is the emotion. So if you're angry, it's okay to be angry, even at somebody that's passed. It's okay. You let that anger out. You express it some way, somehow that's right for you. And sadness as well. Just don't keep it inside. Just let it naturally come out when it's ready. And for me, at least, it's that's always been useful and helpful in processing any type of emotion, and including grief. And yeah, um, I think that's about it. I think we can wrap it up. But Jennifer, thank you so much. This was fascinating. It was really interesting. And thank you.
Before we go, can you maybe give a bit more details about your app? Like, is it available
Of
into
course,
the
yeah.
States or else? And how can they download it? How can they access it? Is it paid? Is it free? Things like this.
Yeah, so it's available everywhere, not just the States. And go to our website, connectmio, connectmio.com. And then it'll give you, your choice of Apple and Android and all of that stuff, and you can download it there. There's a free version there's a paid version. And then, like I said, service providers can jump in, even if you're a mindset coach or somebody who just, does PDFs and you want to like share those and that kind of thing. So it's a great way for them to build their community as well.
And of course, I will add all the details in the description of this video. And yeah, basically that's it. Thank you very much for coming, Jennifer, today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jennifer. It was amazing.
Thank you.